Hello, and welcome to Life Force Radio. I'm Tessa Fromer, and I'm so happy you're here. In every episode, I'm going to bring you more insights on how to live a life that's meaningful, rich, joyful, in a way that allows you to be steady, present, and mindful throughout it all. Together, we'll tune into many systems of self-discovery, have conversations with people that have really gone the distance, both inside and outside. And I know their stories will inspire you to stay on your path and be connected to your own life force. This episode is about to be a juicy one because it's time to talk about how to know when it's the right time to leave your job. And this episode is specifically for those people who are sitting at the edge or on the cusp of or constantly toying with in their head the idea of a major career transition and aren't sure when or how to cliff jump and when the best time is to do that and when is it best to stay put and weather the storm. So this is an episode for you if you've grown, if you loved what you were doing at one point and now you dread it, and you're navigating that. Second, if there's a little whisper inside of you, something that you want to do so badly, you can't stop thinking about it. Perhaps you're afraid to admit it, but you also just don't even know if it makes sense with what you're doing right now. That's a good indicator. This episode's for you too. If you also have what we love to call, in my world, the golden handcuffs. All right, you've got it pretty good. You're pretty content. Everything's going okay. Nothing's really wrong. You're getting paid well. You got the golden handcuffs, but something inside of you wants more. Fourth, if you've hit the skill ceiling, you're no longer satisfied with what's on your plate. You're not fulfilled. You feel like you're only using 10% of your capacity. Nothing is challenging you. Your brain feels offline. You're kind of checked out. And lastly, if the company or the culture or your coworkers or your boss are no longer in alignment with your values, decisions are being made for you, you're not feeling included, stuff's coming down the pipeline that just doesn't make sense with what you signed on for, that's also a great indicator that it might be time for you to take the leap from your job. So if you're experiencing any one of those 5 symptoms, keep listening. I'm going to break them down. I first want to tell you a little bit about my experience most recently with career transition and grappling with wanting to make a big change, aka starting this business, and where I was and how I really did that. I had quintessential golden handcuffs. I had also grown a lot, and I had a little whisper inside of me. I was at the peak of my sales career. I was overseeing successful offices in both Colorado and Oregon. I loved what I was doing. I had a long leash. I was able to do the things that I wanted to do, how I wanted to do them, take the time off that I needed, and make great money. I also felt like my inner genius was expressed at this job, and I was appreciated for who I was and what I brought to the table. Not only that, but I was also at that table, that really important kind of C-suite table where the decisions are being made that then trickle out to the rest of the company. And so I had all of this stuff going for me, great position, valued, making great money. I mean, this was a past version of me's dream life. And yet I had this little whisper inside of me that I couldn't ignore. And it didn't even make any sense to me. It wasn't logical at all. I wanted to travel still. I wanted to go to Asia. I wanted to stop working altogether. I wanted to have no obligations, no responsibilities. I wanted to integrate my life. I wanted to become the best version of myself. And I knew that I needed space from everyday life and work and socializing to really see what I was made of at a soul level without all of the noise. And even though I liked that noise and even though I had worked for it and I was so grateful for it, I still knew I needed something else. This little whisper, the journey of having one is really, at first it's kind of a downward spiral and then it turns into an upward spiral. So I first want you to know that because as soon as I recognized, wow, I just really want to travel, how can I make that work? I was able to see, okay, I'd probably have the money to do that based on how much I'm earning now. But we're about to get engaged And the transition that was coming up for me around work was also directly corresponding to this big life change. And that often happens. I see it all the time in my work. Something is happening in someone's life or in their body or in their relationship, or they want to move, and therefore what they're doing for work starts to become crystal clear whether or not that's in alignment with that plan. And so as I was getting engaged, I was also just recognizing that my life was getting more serious. Once I had my person and we were planning a wedding, I was like, I really think it's kind of now or never for me to take this traveling leap. Otherwise, my life's only going to get more serious. And so that engagement and that incoming engagement, really crystallized that. So with that epic path that I was on and the success that I was having and my upcoming engagement, my inevitable engagement, was that I really wanted to still have this rebellion and carve my own path again, and also go with my partner, my person, to the other side of the world. And so this little whisper became less about me and more about we. What do we want to do? What kind of life do we want to create together? So shortly after getting engaged, I was shaking in my boots, but I knew I had this inner strength, and I knew I needed to call my C-suite bosses and my team and tell them that I was taking a sabbatical to travel the world with the love of my life and do it before time got away from us. And when I spoke that truth to them, they completely understood, and it blew me away. But Little Whisper fundamentally changed me as a person, and it made me into a person who follows their dreams. Even though it's scary, even when it's against the status quo. I want to give you another example from a dear client named Dana that I've been working with for the past 5 months. She came to me originally with a design question that I'm working with clients in the weeds, in the heart, in the spirit, with the little whispers, inside of my quintessential program, the Life Force Method. That's where we really break down all of these internal desires with external reality, and we see what needs to happen and where that alignment lies and where that authentic direction really stems from. When we broke down Dana's current work situation, it was really clear that she has both golden handcuffs and she's hit the skill ceiling / the fulfillment ceiling. Golden handcuff wise, she's praised, she's respected, she's appreciated, she's a part of a great culture, she's paid really well, and she doesn't have to work all the time around the clock. In fact, she's able to take a coaching call in the middle of the day. She's able to run errands. She can go to yoga, things that really create an energy of spaciousness inside of her life are present with this job. Now, she's also hit this skill ceiling, so she's not entirely living up to her potential. She's kind of on cruise control. She knows that she's respected, praised, appreciated, a part of a great culture, paid well. She's not paid so much that there's a ton of pressure on her, but she's also not paid that little. And she knows that she's got that pretty good, but she's not really using her full brain. All her energy, all her abilities and skills aren't really being taken advantage of by these employees, by these employers. So while she's cruising along, she's mindfully cruising on. And, this is just her work life. She's also had a lot going on in her personal life beyond the scenes. And so while she's simultaneously wanting to figure out a next step at work, she's also grateful that work hasn't been that difficult and that she's been able to kind of navigate this personal life stuff without work being like bugging her. However, there's still this internal nagging little whisper that says that she wants to do something that's more purposeful, fulfilling, aligned, exciting, and important. Now, the other thing that was happening that kind of came up later throughout our work is that the company is beginning to not be that aligned with her values. She works in government, and so throughout this presidential time, a lot of her funding has been cut. The projects and the angle with which she was passionate about is no longer allowed to be acknowledged or spoken about. And so she's feeling like her and her team are kind of being put into this little tiny box, which isn't what they really want to be doing. Not to mention with government, there's also a fear that you're going to lose your job at any point in time. So all of these ingredients have kind of created the perfect storm for Dana to really analyze and check in with herself if this is where she wants to be and how she wants to be spending her time. Instead of just scrapping it entirely like I did in my last Little Whisper story, we dove in a little deeper to the details and found out that she's in a really awesome situation in which her retirement account is going to be vested in the company and her pension is going to be taking care of her for the rest of her life at the end of May 2026. Okay, that's great. She just has to make it to the end of May, and then she can really decide what she wants to do at that time. So immediately what that did is it created a long runway of spaciousness where she can kind of quiet that wondering mind if I should leave now or later, and really just lock in and be like, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do this job for sure until that date so that I am secure for the rest of my future, which is an incredible foundation to have set. Soothes the mind and creates a goal. Now, the other thing that was still emerging though was, okay, well, May is going to come sooner than I think, but what do I want to do if I didn't want to do this? And so at the beginning of our work, we really started opening up doorways, expansive doorways into other things that she could do or was interested in doing. And we found using her authentic compass, which you guys should totally check out. Send me a DM if you want it. It's my free exercise that allows you to figure out your north, south, east, and west authentic values that you want to organize your life around so that life isn't organizing itself around you. So on that authentic compass exercise for Dana, we found that design, community, nurturing, writing, and creative expression were all big values of hers. So things that she wasn't really using right now at her job. And therefore, we started looking at bridge jobs, side hustles, other opportunities that would allow more of that energy to fill her life, to fill her spirit, and kind of subsidize the gaps that weren't being filled by her full-time paid job. That realignment, that re-navigation of that authentic compass opened up an opportunity for her to begin working in a yurt in her town, a seasonal job where she would be cooking these epic dinners for people at this really famous establishment with this incredible head chef and facilitator whom she truly admires, looks up to as not just a woman of her craft, but as a human being who has incredible values and lives it and is connected to the land, so on and so forth. So she found an incredible mentor, a great gig that was outside of the hours of her full-time job, connects her more to nature, to design, and to food, and boom, she'd be able to save more money for her future and be more fulfilled along the way. This is such a key story, and I really want you guys to understand that sometimes the thing that we initially think we have to do is to quit our job entirely, throw out the whole situation and just be done with it and rinse our hands of it. But the truth is sometimes we just need to look at it from another angle and find something else that's really going to fulfill us. And that's enough to bring all the insight and clarity we need about our next steps without the next, 6 months feeling like a ticking time bomb. The win-win is that she still has her golden handcuffs. She's making and saving even more money. She's being shown a whole new world and way of living, and she still gets to crush it at work. It's proof that you don't need to completely quit your job and begin again. You just need to figure out the most aligned next step for yourself. The final client story I want to tell you about is Lexi. Lexi's work transition and just overall gripe with work is that she had grown so much and was also just so tired of being burnt out, stressed out, under pressure, and unfulfilled by the work that she was doing. Now, in her case, I had graduated college and started working in this industry nearly 15 years ago. And as a side tangent, that's how she and I actually met. We were working at the same agency. So it's just such a cool full circle moment, but that's a story for another time. But yeah, over the last 15 years, she's changed quite a bit, and so has the industry that she was working in. She's weathered all the storms. She's weathered all the layoffs. She's worked for many different clients and companies. She's moved cities. She's moved houses. She found her partner. She got married, and she decided to start a family. So when she and I linked back up, she was pretty early on in her pregnancy, maybe like late first trimester, middle of her second trimester. And that pregnancy and ultimate incoming energy of becoming a mom was her priorities and putting into perspective that she didn't want to live a life chained to work in this way. And she didn't want to be under so much stress and pressure and feel this energy of burnt outness and ability to be alive and radiant and connected to her own life force. So we had a couple different things we did within the life force method. The first was we started to explore things that were lighting her up, that were giving her energy. And things was that she had always had a little whisper of maybe becoming an interior designer. She had that eye, she had that je ne sais quoi, and she was so passionate about finding those brands and designers to put into people's homes. Followed that rabbit trail, that golden thread of where the good energy is, where the life force is, and she started chipping away at an interior design course. And, at first you might think that this story is going on to say that Lexi ended up quitting her job, going on maternity leave, and becoming an interior designer. And I just want to let you know that that's not always how it works. And that's not the case for Lexi either. Essentially, as she started going further into that course, she ended up realizing that interior design was really less about items, designing, tasting, like curating it with her unique perspective and taste, and more so using angles and math and designing and using architecture systems and things that she just wasn't that interested in. And so what she realized is that she didn't really want to become a formal interior designer at this time, but she wanted to take on more interior design projects for friends, for family, and then really work on creating the nursery room that she was going to have her baby boy in, and the house that she was in, and just making the home what she wanted it to be in so that she was fulfilled by the space that she was in. All of a sudden we went from, I'm unfulfilled, I'm burnt out, I'm not into this job, I need to leave, start something over, should I really do that around the time that I'm becoming a mom, to I don't really want to do that. I think I'm going to stick this job out through my maternity leave. And in the meantime, I'm going to start doing the aspects of interior design that I love without having to make it a full-blown career pivot and putting new pressure on myself. Pressure element is super important. That pressure element is super important for me to distill for you guys, because when we think about transitioning out of our job, we think that the next do needs to be at the same caliber and income as the one that we're doing right now. And the truth is, it just doesn't. You might just need qualities of that next thing, like we learned from Dana's story, in your life here and now, just to reinvigorate your life force and get you back on the bandwagon. That did for Lexi, allowed her to realize that she's been over prioritizing work. She has had no boundaries. She's been taking on too much work, too much responsibility. She's too available, and she didn't have to be. She just thought she had to be. So she created distance between herself and work, and she just kind of turned the dial down on her expectations of herself as she moved closer and closer to giving birth. And then she began to focus her energy on giving birth, preparing her body, preparing her mind to become a mom, doing more tasks that lit her up that were also helping her set up to become a mom. Like I said, decorating the nursery. I was preparing her space and redesigning a few things. Now, all of a sudden, her life force was so much stronger. She wasn't distraught over what she was doing, and she was clearer on the position that she was in and what the real message was at the end of the day, which was that fulfillment is my responsibility, my anxiety and stress and burnout. And all of that can shift without everything needing to be completely between myself and Lexi. If you've heard aspect of your story that and is a mirror to you, you can pay attention to the ideas, insights, little whispers that you are having as you listen to this, that you get more clarity on your next step. And just remember that your cliff jump doesn't have to be a complete departure from what you're doing now. And also, if it is a complete departure, remember that there is a golden thread between what you're doing now and what you want to do next. And it's up to you to weave that together. But the rest of us will understand it, even if it seems crazy or totally different. The through line is you. The through line is always you. Out the authentic compass exercise if you feel called to figure out your own internal navigation system, what's in line with your values, what isn't, and start taking charge of the direction you're heading in your life. That by sending me a message on Instagram at Social Alchemy Institute, and I will DM you that PDF in there. And I just can't wait for you to get your hands on it. And if you do the exercise, please send it to me. I love, 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 love to hear your authentic compasses.